In Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16, 17, and 18. It says 6 things. These 6 things the Lord hates. Yea, 7. In other words, he hates the 6 things, but 7. The word abomination is something that should not be heard of. Something that should not. Who said that? Alu. Alu. Something that should not be heard of. 6 things. Many of us who are Christians will begin to understand as I x-ray them that you are guilty. 6 things the Lord, they say number 1, a proud look. Pride. Pride is an over-exaggerated importance of yourself. An over-exaggerated importance. Pride. Without me, this can be done. If not me, I am here. If not me, if not me. Anytime God sees a proud person, God sees Satan. Anytime God sees a proud person, God sees Satan. Because he's the epitome of pride. There are people that are so arrogant and proud. They think they are the best thing that have happened since after sliced bread. So pompous. How many of you are pastors? I think some of them are here already for ministers' conference. How many of you are pastors? There was a man called John Alexander Dowe. He was one of God's generals in those days. Alexander Dowe bought a land. The land he bought is like 5 times of Auchi. I didn't say 5 times of Restoration City. 5 times of Auchi. He had a city. His members just take a land, build a house. Take a land, build a house. He had a city. Miracles was like water. The power of God was so strong. One time he moved from Chicago, because he was in Chicago. He moved 100,000 people to a city. And it was a program they call Elijah's Declaration. And said to them that he's the last prophet. In other words, after him, God is not using anybody again. It was called Elijah's Declaration. After, he was so powerful. So powerful. Powerfully used by God. At the city, his own city, he was a mover because he had influence. When ministry grows beyond miracle, signs, wonder, and enter influence, means he could determine what happens in the whole of Chicago. He stood up that day and called it Elijah's Declaration. In other words, not me. I reject it. He said he's the last prophet. After him, no other person. Powerful, used by God. Miracles everywhere. As he got into the hotel after saying that, stroke hit him. He had stroke. One hand twisted, mouth twisted, leg twisted. They packaged him from Chicago in a wheelchair. Packaged him back to Chicago, rather. In fact, when he got the person that was writing his biography, when the person, he says at the time he was writing this, when they saw him, it's like all the sickness he removed from people. Because hand was twisted, leg twisted. God reminded him that you are mortal. God reminded, see, can I tell you this? That's him in his glory. That's the man on the screen, in his days of glory. But he died on a wheelchair. There is nothing, God told me, he said, son, there is nothing that anybody hasn't been before. Nothing. There's nothing anybody hasn't been before. And can I surprise you? Anything you are, God creates a spare because he doesn't want embarrassment. God will keep a spare because God does not like disgrace. Pride. He said God hates pride. Every time, the higher you go, the more you tell God, please, not me. Increase and let me decrease. One of the signs of pride is always when it's centered about you. Have you spoken to people, you are telling them what is happening, they want to tell you their own. People don't let you talk. They want to tell you what God is also doing in their life. See what God just did for me. That one is small. You're asking, you say, can't you just keep quiet and listen? Somebody met my father in the Lord, Papa Deboya, was telling him what was happening in his ministry. The guy was talking all the time. My father would say, hey, thank God. He was talking. He said, thank God. He was talking. He said, thank God. After about 2 months, he said, Daddy, don't you also say what God is doing in your life? My father-in-law told me and my wife this story by himself. He said, I said to him, my son, I said to him, if I tell you what God is doing in my life, you will say God is partial. Meaning your own is, you are a baby. This thing you are making noise about. If I tell you what God is doing in my life, you say God is partial. Say, so that's why I'm quiet. Let's celebrate your own. Pride. A proud look. You see people that have not been anywhere, they don't have anything, and they are squaring shoulders. And sometimes I just look at them and I'm asking myself a question. Have you seen life? Proud.